Chris and Noel, welcome back to Fearless and Devotion. We're going to do a quick preview episode ahead of the championship match with Ipswich. The championship, remember that?
God, yeah, that was a while back, wasn't it? What's all this nonsense been about for the last few weeks?
Yeah, like league football, it's like a notion. It's like an abstract theory, but it's back. It's back on Saturday. Before we get into that, hot off the press, we're going to have to go back to international football, mate. We're not Tim, so it's not as great as love for us, but we are proud Welshmen. So Wales have got Bosnia Herzegovina in the first semi-final, and then if they get through that, they've got Italy. Now, is it Italy stroke Northern Ireland, but is it actually just Italy?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so Bosnia, what do you know about
that? I believe it's a country, and
this is good. This is going well.
I mean, I've only been out of Wales once or twice, so someone did mention they've got an aging Edin Dzeko playing for them.
Behave. Edin Dzeko's still playing.
Well, so I'm led to believe by someone in work. Yeah, yeah. They were suspicious when three Welshmen all took their lunch break at the same time in work, and then they soon realised why.
Okay.
Yeah. But
Well,
other than that, my knowledge is, wow, useless.
What about Italy? Do you know anything about them?
They eat a lot of pizza, and they are managed by Gattuso, who will lose his shit if we did end up playing them and beat them.
Gattuso on the touchline. That's a spicy meatball.
Yeah,
anyway,
so that's the sum of my knowledge. Yeah, so as you can see, I'm an expert.
Enough of the stereotypes. I basically, are they going to do it, Liam? Are they going to get to the World Cup?
I think they've got a decent chance of getting to the playoff final. If you end up,
say it's a lottery that anything could happen.
Yeah, if you end up against someone like Italy, I mean, it's a pretty daunting time. For me, it depends what version of Wales we see, because for me, there's like two sides to it. There's the free-flowing, exciting, attacking Bellamy team, and then there's the defensive side, which basically lets teams cut through them at will. Even against North Macedonia in the first half, that happened on a couple of occasions. Fortunately, didn't cost us, but that does terrify me when I'm watching Bellamy's side. So I think much depends on if they can, sort of firm things up at the back a bit.
Cool. Talking about firming things up, the cup, there's actual doings are transpiring. So you can see the piling, which I learned, I talked about in this week's newsletter. Please subscribe to this week's newsletter if you want all your sort of I was going to say agricultural, but all your architectural stuff. I will bring it to you because I went to Contrevely College for an MVQ. But the pilings are in. Michael Williamson was talking in the leader. It says he's looking about 45 days to get them in. And then it's full steam ahead. I think then we'll actually see some progress, won't we, Liam?
Yeah, from what I can tell, I mean, I'm no expert on piles. I mean, had the misfortune to have them.
Piles. Remember that horrible that horrible episode?
Yeah, that was traumatic. But I'm led to believe it's basically firming the ground up, ready for getting the foundations in place, and then you'll really start to see things going up quickly. Like the first phase seems very slow, but this is basically all systems go once this is sorted. So it's going to be an exciting time. I noticed the club have done their own drone footage this time out. Are they in a bit of competition with the other drone man? I don't know.
Yeah.
But it would be good to see plenty of footage, plenty of clips, because people will want to keep track of it. And also, like looking back, hopefully once the new big beautiful cop is up as well, it's something we'll be able to look back on fondly.
Yeah. Other news that's come out. So The Rock, there was a little bit of speculation about why they hadn't been playing there. It was a big sort of close season purchase. It was really designed to kick the women's team on. I mean, the women's team have kicked on themselves, to be honest, by nature of their results. But they've sort of laid out what that ground needed to get up to spec, and it was. I mean, we sort of mentioned about wiring and electrical work, so it was that, and it's also the pitch as well, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. They've basically said that. It sounds to me like because is it 4G pitch. Not sure what G it is, but they've essentially had to get parts stitched over in the goalmouth areas to, in order to be compliant. So I would imagine they're probably looking long term at a complete, reworking of the pitch. But I think for the time being, they've just had to, essentially patch it up a bit. Yeah.
So hopefully they can be there soon. It would be nice for them to have their own home and really, really sort of stamp their identity on that place. It's not all good news. Issa Kaore is out for 6 weeks. How do we feel about that? How do we feel that he's performed for us? He was definitely a cult hero. I think, as Mozza said when we had him on Sunday, he's the one that you really identify with when it comes to the new sort of intake of players.
Yeah, I try to look at it from both sides. Shit happens, doesn't it, with injuries, and it can't be helped. But I think when it happens on international duty, like you said, when you've been going through the last couple of weeks thinking, oh, I really can't be asked because I don't enjoy international football, and then one of your best players gets injured whilst away playing for their country, it's a bit. Yeah, I think he's the one player where we could have really done without that because since he's come into the team, he's given so much attacking threat, going forward down the right hand side. And also, like you say, he is that cult hero figure. He does get the crowd G'd up and stuff like that. And I just wonder, who do you turn to now? I mean, I was talking to someone about this yesterday, and they were saying maybe Longman. I think maybe Barnett's probably the more Parky's first choice.
I think so. I think Longman is very industrious. There's a good work ethic there, but I don't think opposition defenders fear him. I think Barnett, yes, he can do something a little bit different. He can beat a man. He can put a brilliant ball in. So you salivate at the thought of Barnett crossing it in for Kiefer Moore if he is fit for Saturday. And while we talk about Saturday, we are joined by Craig from the Blue Monday podcast. Craig, thank you very much for your time. Would you just like to tell us a little bit about the podcast and where you can find it? Oh, I can't hear you, mate. While we're waiting for Craig, Liam, are you certain you want Longman, or does it
No, I
also
think.
depend on if Kakache is fit?
Yeah, well, a lot depends on that because I think when he's not, then Parky's been preferring Longman, so that really probably only leaves you the main choice of Barnett. So yeah, Kache is a bit of another frustrating one just because him and Kabore do give that balance on both wings. So I do think we will see Barnett on that right hand side. I do think Kabore is better at covering ground at both ends of the pitch.
Quick, isn't he? He's
Yeah,
quick. That's what we're
but
lacking, more pace now.
there's not much you can do about it, unfortunately. So we'll go with what we've got, as we always used to say.
Craig, are you?
Try that.
Plan B has worked, Craig. Thank you so much. That is loud and clear. That's putting me into the shade. I don't have sound quality like that. Craig, tell us about your podcast, Blue Monday.
Yes. Blue Monday. I think we've been going a similar sort of time to you guys, 10, 11 years now. It was started off by two guys in one guy's bedroom, and it's sort of grown ever since then. And to be fair, it hasn't only grown in the last 2 or 3 years when we've been doing okay. It got popular when we weren't doing okay. As the saying goes, misery enjoys company. And while we were languishing around League One is where we sort of got our fan base from. But now we've got a decent following now. We've got a little community going on. So yeah, and people are enjoying the various content that we put out.
Yeah, well, the difference for us is it's always just good news for a Wrexham fan. We don't have any bad days, do we, Liam? So it's just it's constant backslapping. So
no, well, since Wrexham was created as a club in 2021, it's been all plain sailing.
Craig, take us through your season. I think you're 7th at the moment. Didn't start brilliantly, but you've really kicked on in the last couple of weeks. Is it Kieran Murta? I think I've said that right, isn't it? Kieran Murta.
McKenna.
Oh God. Well, that's a good start. Hang on. Yeah, sorry, I thought someone was trying to get into this room. He's constantly in speculation, isn't he? That he might get another job. Is that quite hard for a team and fans to sort of compute, just that you could always be losing your manager?
It's been a long time since anybody's wanted one of our managers, to be perfectly honest with you. So it's quite a nice feeling in a strange way. But as you rightly say, and it's been circulating for a couple of summers, really. The summer that we got promoted to the Premier League, there was a lot of interest reported. Chelsea, Manchester United. I think the main one was Brighton, where I think he was very close to joining. But in the end, he signed a new contract with ourselves, and took us into the Premier League for that season. Again, now there's been a little bit more speculation with the Celtic job, but I think that's sort of blown over at the time of writing, touching various bits of wood. So yeah, we would be very, very, very loath to lose him. He's a bit like you guys over the last few years. We've had back-to-back success, and even in the Premier League, it was all very much understood what sort of competition it was going to be. And although it did hit us like a bit of a brick wall, there's a lot of understanding that the players that we had in our Premier League season, a lot of those had come up with us from League One. So yeah, he's got the full backing, if not 99% of all fans, 100% of the fans backing, even though we suffered a bit of a kicking when we got up to the Premier League.
I mean, I watched a bit of you in the Premier League. I'm not a Premier League aficionado. I was always more Conference League 2, League 1, and now the Championship. But you play good football. You carried on with that. I can sort of see that. Oh, you're gone. But can you still hear us, Craig?
I can. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, just can't see you.
Okay. See what we can do there.
Well, at least there's not a load of technical hitches on this one, Liam. It's back to our normal standard.
Award-winning podcast.
Craig, just tell us a bit about the style of play, the formation they might play. Is it like a big man up front and everyone leading off him?
It's not necessarily. Well, there is a big man up front. He does a lot of beating up of centre halves. We've got George Hurst, David Hurst's son, is up front. So from those of a 90s era Sheffield Wednesday striker David Hurst, it's George Hurst that we predominantly use up front. Obviously, in the past, we've used a very tall Welshman that you may have playing up front for you. He helped us get out of the Championship. We signed Kiefer Moore. Well, we signed him twice, actually, funnily enough. Mick McCarthy signed him originally from Forest Green Reserves back in 2017. And when he joined us, he looked like a bit of a competition winner, to be perfectly honest with you. And I don't think he ever started a game for us. And then he went on to Barnsley and, started his career really from then. So we do play with one up front, as a lot of teams tend to do nowadays. At the moment, it's probably more likely to be George Hurst leading the line for us. Off of that, we tend to play Leif Davis, our left back, plays very wide and high up on the left. Right winger, we then play with sort of a two central tens and a right winger, with a pretty strong centre midfield base that sits in front of the back four and protects it from there. So the majority and the onus of our goal scoring and creativity is around the striker and the three, if not four, that dart in and around them. We did have, again, a guy that's on your roster now, Nathan Broadhead. He really got to grips with that role, just playing in off the left-hand side. We used him as a bit of a floating number 10. Nowadays, we've got a bit more direct players there. We've got Jack Clark, who played for the Sunderland. We signed him. We've got Nathan Philogene, who you may have seen stick in a few 20, if not 30-yarders so far this season. And as you guys say, as you said, Andy, we're sort of getting to grips with the influx of players that we had over the summer. As you rightly say, it was a slow start, and even now, we're 2 or 3 steps forward and then maybe one back. We got slapped by Charlton a couple of games ago, 3-0 at home, when the sort of wheels sort of fell off a little bit. Whereas I think you guys went and beat them the last game out, didn't you? I think.
Well, I think that's going to be a template for what we're going to try and do to you if we can sort of Charlton you a little bit. We're a very similar sort of team, as in very sort of physical and everyone knows their role and they're quite well drilled. So I'm hoping that if we do get anything from Portman Road, that's the way we're going to do it.
Yeah, well, that's what we tend to find. We're tending to find it a little bit freer and easier away from home at the moment because, the last time that we were in the Championship, we were a bit like yourselves. We were a bit of an unknown quantity. We'd just come up from League One and people didn't really take us as seriously. So a lot of our games were open, and as a result, we caught a lot of teams on the hop and scored a lot of goals and won a lot of games. This time round, obviously, we've been up again and come back down. So people are a lot more wary of us. And certainly our home games are a lot more cagey. So maybe apart from Sheffield United, where we scored 5, and our dear friends Norwich, where we happened to score 3. But apart from that, our home games are, as you rightly said, Andy, they're cagey affairs. And I think this weekend's game could be another cagey, tight one. And then it's up to the Portman Road crowd just to sort of hold our nerve and hope that we can, if we don't get an early goal, and imagine that will be your guys' game plan, won't it? Just sit in tight and sit back and absorb as much pressure as you can, and then maybe hopefully catch us on the break. And that will be, as you said, that will be the template that was a template that Charlton used to really, really good effect, to be fair to them. And it's probably the template that teams will try and use at Portman Road for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, Ipswich seem to be doing better than sort of fellow recently relegated Premier League teams. I mean, Southampton is still languishing down in the lower half. Leicester, I think we're just one place off. Is it unusual for so many of the recently relegated sides, do you think, to be struggling in terms of the other two, or is it hard to make that readjustment when you come down?
Well, I think Leicester, we're a little bit different to Leicester and Southampton in that we've got a little bit more, well, quite a lot bit more stability around us. As I said earlier about Kieran McKenna, now there's no qualms, there's no grumblings about our manager, whereas that certainly isn't. Well, it's proven to be not to be the case with Southampton, hasn't it? And also there are murmurings about Leicester, and also Leicester have got the points deduction hanging over their heads, and I don't think particularly either sets of fans are happy with their owners and the guys that run the club. Whereas again, the guys that are in charge of us, they have not put a foot wrong since they took us over, and as a result, I think potentially the reason why we do find ourselves doing slightly better than the other two is that stability and is that understanding around the fan base that it is still a work in progress. I think to the owner's own admission, we've done better than we could have done. The plan was never to jump from League One to the Championship to the Premier League in 3 seasons. It was always a case of getting there once we put the building blocks in place. Once you've got the training ground ready, you build slowly. But by virtue of Kieran McKenna and lightning in a bottle and Kiefer Moore coming in and helping us over the line, etc., you're not going to look a gift horse in the mouth. But there, as I say, there is the understanding that it's still a work in progress, and hopefully it will happen this year. But I think it is. If you looked at the bookies odds at the beginning of the year, as it is every year, the 3 that come down are the favourites to go back up again, aren't they? This year, for whatever reason, it hasn't been the case. And fair play to teams like Coventry, who have absolutely flown out the blocks, and the team that came up with you as well. Birmingham seem to have hit their straps the last 2 or 3 games, don't they? This seems to be a little bit more even playing field this time round.
Yeah, I think it's a good chance for other clubs to sort of seize, grasp the nettle. I mean, touching on players that Wrexham and Ipswich have got in common, have you been surprised by how easily Kiefer Moore's settled in? I'm guessing, given his contribution to your most recent promotion, perhaps not. But also Nathan Broadhead probably been in and out of the team quite a lot as well.
Yeah, I think, to be fair, I think that's probably the more of a surprise for the town fans is the use of Nathan Broadhead since he signed for you guys. In regards to Kiefer Moore, not at all. The second coming of Kiefer Moore, shall we say? when I say he joined us in January 24, so of our promotion season, on loan for the second half of the season. And within the first half of the match he played, you could tell exactly what he was going to give us for the rest of that season. You know, I think from memory, we were away at Preston and I think we might have been 3-0 down at half time. He come on and scored 2 goals, 2 headers. You know, we stood the ball up to the back post and he comes steaming in and scores a header. He was holding the ball up. He was winning headers that he shouldn't have won. And you just thought, yeah, this is exactly what we need now to hopefully see us over the line. And he does what he does. He knows the Championship. And I reckon there would have been a majority of Town fans who would have more than happily had him back. And I think, you know, from the issues he had in the playoff final, I don't think Sheffield United fans were quite as keen to keep him. But you know, I don't think there'd have been much of a grumble outside to have him as one of our 2 or 3 strikers. As I say, we do play with that one predominant striker up front. In terms of Nathan Broadhead, again, you know, he did fantastically for us. He signed for us in the January the year before, actually, and got us over the line in League One, whether that be crucial penalties, direct free kicks, winners in close games. He was just a great player for us. Even in the Championship, he probably scored 12, 13 goals for us from, as I said earlier, that number 10 position. And probably played 8, maybe not started quite as many games in the Premier League as he wanted to, but still didn't look out of place when he came on, scored a couple of goals. You know, technically, he's a very, very good player, and he wasn't alone in this respect. The jump to the Premier League isn't just about technical ability, it's about size and it's about power and it's about pace. And they're 3 things that Nathan Broadhead probably hasn't got. But in the Championship, he can more than hold his own. And I say that probably one of the questions from Ipswich Town fans is, why hasn't he been used quite as much as we probably thought he would be once he'd made that jump? Yeah, certainly for the fee that you guys paid.
I think, Craig, a lot of it is trying to fit him into quite a rigid system. So
Yeah.
with 3-5-2, Parky will die on the 3-5-2 hill. Look, he's evolved the system slightly and how we play it, but that's the system. He's even tried to evolve it this season by playing 2 behind Moore. So we've had like Broadhead and Windhass behind Moore, but at the moment I think it's either Windhass or it's either Broadhead. And Windhass just is that little bit more experienced and has played with Kiefer before, so can sort of find him just a little bit more with Broadhead. I often look at Broadhead and I think what he's doing is on a different wavelength to what the rest of the Wrexham team are doing. And I mean that in a good way. And I mean that in the fact that he's so technical and his football brain is so good that he's making passes that the rest of our team are not seeing. And it's making him look bad, where actually he's probably making the right sort of ball there. Oh, you're back. Here we go. So I think it's just, where does he fit into our system? Is he an impact player? You know, is it more that we need to fit him in with Windhass? We're just not sure yet, really.
And I think that's a sort of the issue that he had for the second half of his Ipswich career. Exactly the same thing, is that certainly in the Premier League, we learned very quickly that we needed to have quite a rigid system, because teams were finding it relatively easy to play through us, and we couldn't score the volume of goals we needed to outscore them. And that's sort of where he then spent a lot of his time coming off the bench to try and get us something out of a game, if you like. He is that off the cuff little sprinkle of stardust player, and without no detriment to you guys, you're making the step up and looking to establish yourself in the Championship, aren't you? And by virtue of that, you probably need to claw and fight for as many points as you can. And Nathan Broad is probably not a claw and fighter sort of player, is he?
No, he's the sugar on the top, really.
Yeah.
Right. I want to talk about some more players that we have shared histories with. Carlos Edwards. How do you rate him?
Yeah, well, he ended up being a great player for. I think Roy Keane brought him in from Sunderland. Yeah. But well, Roy Keane had been at Sunderland before us, and as a result, we ended up having Sunderland reserves playing for us pretty shortly afterwards and spending a lot of money on their reserves. So him, Grant Leadbitter came in to name but two, and he through Roy, and then after that through Mick McCarthy, he tended to play a little bit deeper, and he played a lot of games at right back actually, but he just, a bit like I was saying about Leif Davis flying up and down our left wing currently. You get that from Carlos Edwards flying up and down our right wing. He scored some cracking goals from distance, as he tended to do, and actually he's still local. He may well still play non-league locally. If he isn't this season, he certainly was last season in a half decent non-league level as well. And he's in and around the club still. He does a bit of ambassadorial stuff, match day hosting and bits and pieces like that. So yeah, he's still around. He's still local, and he's still pops into the club every now and again.
So we're men of a certain vintage. Do we remember Tony Humes?
I do, yes, certainly. He was. Let me think. So what would that have been?
Early 90s, late 80s?
Yeah. So about 86, 87, 88 would have been in around the town team, which wasn't the greatest time to be a town fan. That was sort of around John Duncan. I don't know if you remember John Duncan, old Chesterfield manager. Yeah, he came in, and we were, to be fair, we were dotted around mid-table in what is now the Championship, but the football wasn't great. But yeah, Tony Humes was a great servant for us. And yeah, to be fair, I didn't appreciate that he'd ended up playing for you guys a couple of years after that.
Yeah, so we got him directly from you, 40 grand. He said it was Brian Flynn, our manager at the time, said it was the best signing he ever made during his career. And as a leader, he was brilliant. Yeah. I think injuries really, really got him, and he didn't perhaps have the career that he deserved. Another one, a bit more of a left field, didn't really do much for us, and I was surprised where I ended up with you, was Caden Jackson.
Yeah, well, talking about competition winners, he was actually a competition winner, wasn't he? I think, didn't he? He won one of these like academy contracts or something like that. And yeah, so he would have come in under Paul Hurst, who, I don't know if he's still managing now. He went to Grimsby for a little bit. Shrewsbury, Grimsby, yeah. He came in after Mick, and we sort of ripped up Mick's team in terms of, we had a lot of Championship stalwarts who come in and for freebies, as poor old Mick needed to have to do back then. And what Paul Hurst's great plan was that he would sign a lot of League One and League Two players and pretty much hope for the best. The problem with signing League One and League Two players is you very quickly ended up in League One, which we did. Caden Jackson, to be fair to him, he hung around longer than most. When he joined, he looked like an athlete, not necessarily a footballer. And I don't mean that in any disrespect, but the level we were at in the Championship, he looked like he was a League One sprinter forward. You could see why he would be very effective, maybe in League One and League Two. He wasn't quite as effective in the Championship. But to be fair to him, he hung around and he outlasted a couple of managers. He outlasted Paul Hurst. He outlasted Paul Cook. And he was used a lot by Kieran McKenna. Kieran McKenna really did polish him up and turn him into a good wide striker, initially through the middle, but tended towards the end of his Ipswich Town career to become a wide striker, and a very effective wide striker who'd come on. And the last thing you want as a tiring left centre half or tiring left back is probably a fresh Caden Jackson coming on the pitch with 20 minutes to go. And again, we utilised him well, and he's got himself a decent move to a club which is doing okay now in the Championship, isn't it, Derby?
Do you remember Danny Sonner? Now,
there's some stories about Danny Sonner. Every
There's
time
always some stories about Danny Sonner.
Yeah. Every time we have one of like an old pro will either come onto the pod, or we have a live show with an old pro will come on, or there'll be I went to watch a George Burley and John Walk have recently released books, and we went to the opening or the launch event. And one of the questions there was to George, because George would have managed Danny Sonner when he was at Ipswich. And there were a few stories involving Okay, I won't want to say which bodily function, but involving a body function in the town centre and nights to Stringfellows and bits and pieces like that. So yeah, I think he didn't play maybe that often, but I think he enjoyed his time as a professional footballer, should we say.
I've got one left, Liam. I don't think you're going to remember this one, Liam. You're too young. For Simon Betts. Do you ever remember Simon Betts?
Now, crikey, I don't think is Simon Betts ever played for us. I certainly recognise the name.
He ever played for us? To be
No,
honest.
no. I think he would have been one of the like a youth team player or a reserve team player. I don't think he ever. If he did, apologies, Simon, if you're listening. But yeah, he's not in the Hall of Fame, shall we say?
Okay. Liam, any other questions before we do predictions?
I guess I always just like to hear from a opposition fan's perspective. Are there any sights, sounds, or anything around Ipswich that Wrexham fans should take in before a match?
Well, I tell you what, thing that we always get told is it's one of the best away days because you roll off the train. I know Fred appreciates it's a
on the
fair
way
old
to
trot on
Norwich,
the
I was
train.
looking at Portman Road, going, "That's easy."
Yeah, you literally walk out the train station, and 20 yards ahead of you is the away pub, and a quarter of a mile away is the ground. So you don't need to venture too far in that straight line from train station to pub to ground and back again. If you want to venture into the town, you can. It's Ipswich Town fans aren't the most aggressive in the world, so you'll be welcomed into most pubs. To be careful where you do end up. It's got a nice marina. It's got a half decent town centre. You might bump into Ed Sheeran, busking in the town centre. You never know. But yeah, so in terms of away days, you get well looked after.
I was going to ask the banal celebrity question, which we always get as well. How likely are we to see Mr. Sheeran at Portman Road? You want to see him, Andy. Don't pretend you're not a fan.
Yeah, funnily enough, I don't know if it'll happen at the home game this weekend, but surely it's going to happen at the away game. Is that your celebrities will meet our celebrities, and there'll be a photo shoot somewhere along the line. When we went to Watford, Ed was in the company of Elton. So, I don't think if he's not touring somewhere, then invariably, to be fair to the guy, he does watch an awful lot of Ipswich Town games. He is an actual proper Ipswich Town fan. He's a local guy who's done spectacularly well for himself, and he does, put his money where his mouth is when it comes to the club. So, if he's not touring, there's a more than fair chance that he will be at the game.
That's an exclusive there, Andy.
Yeah, right. I shall.
You're delighted by that, aren't you?
Right, come on. We've taken too much of Craig's time. Let's do predictions. Should we get our guest to go first? Craig, what do you think?
Well, as we've spoken about, and as I've looked at your last 2 or 3 away games, they're not littered with goals, are they? So I think I'll go for a narrow 1-0 home win.
Okay. Liam, do you want to go next?
Yeah, I'm going to go for we've had a lot of 1-1 draws this season. I've just got a feeling we're going to see one again. It's been a bit frustrating that we got out of the rhythm that we got into before the international break. But, picking up a draw against Ipswich would be a decent result, so I'd be happy with that.
I'd be happy with a draw as well. There's something in the back of my mind. There's a nagging 2-1. A nagging 2-1 for us. I'm going to be positive. I never be positive, but I just feel that Moore's going to really enjoy his trip back to Portman Road. This is him not playing now, isn't it, Liam?
Yeah, he's injured now. You've done it.
I think it's touch and go on Moore. I think if it's a slight hamstring strain, he could be back. If he is, I like us to take it. If not, and we got Sam Smith up front, it might be a little bit more tricky. But I'm going to say he is going to do it, and we're going to win. We're going to win 2-1.
Well, between the three of us,
we're right.
We can guarantee we're going to get the result correct.
Yes. We're right. Greg, thank you so much for your time. Liam, is there any other business before we wrap this up?
Other than to say, everyone go and eat at the Fat Boar Bar and Restaurant, the finest establishment in all the land. People often stay to the end to get sponsors, I've heard. So well done, Liam. You've got it in the most opportune.
place. Right. Thanks, guys. Cheers for your time.
Cheers. Bye-bye.